Stay with your breath. Feel every muscle of your body relaxing. I'm grateful for my amazing life supporting system, my body, who is taking care of me, who is helping me grow, who is helping me good life, who is giving me good health. Immense gratitude to this body for letting me be what I am, what I want to do. Breathe in, breathe out. At the count of 5, open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax the muscles of your hand. Make some movements of your fingers to come back to your normal state. Slowly open your eyes. Thank you. A very good morning, all of you. So, I come with a new session today on parenting. Thank you for being there with me. So, let's begin. Let me share my screen. Can someone please acknowledge if the screen is visible?
It is visible, Prachi.
Okay. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Yes, Prachi, visible.
Thank you, Nehal. Good morning, all of you. So,
Good
let's begin.
morning.
Yeah, today is an interesting session where we can introspect what type of parenting style we carry. So, this is the 5th series, and today we are going to talk about behavioral traits of parents and children. So, let's move ahead. So, there are basically 4 type of parenting styles. One is authoritative parenting. Second would be authoritarian parenting, permissive parenting, and permissive neglectful parenting. So permissive parenting is divided into 2 types: permissive involved parenting and permissive neglectful parenting. Now let's study what do they actually mean. So if you want to know what is authoritative parent, I'll give you an example. Authoritative parent basically means a parent who just commands the child, like, please do this thing. I want you to score so and so percent. I don't know, period. Whatever you say, the child has to do without further questions asked. I want you to score above 80% in this final exams. So, without listening to the child, if it is possible or how the parent can help, the parent just sets goals for the child. That is called as authoritarian parent. So, it is parent driven. The green box which you can see, authoritarian parent is parent driven, sets strict rules and punishment. If you don't do this, I will not give you time to play video games, or I will not give you time on mobile. You have to eat so and so food without understanding what does the child like, what it can be replaced with, what the child wants to say about the food or his studies. The parent is just commanding. So it's a one-way communication with little considerations of child's social, emotional, and behavioral needs without understanding what the child exactly wants, or if the child is not given any chance to place his side. That is authoritarian parent. This is the first style of parenting. Now let's move to the next style of parenting. So it is authoritative parenting. So what does authoritative over here mean? Authoritative means that whenever we ask the child to do something, We also understand what the child has to say. So the child can be verbal, the child has a say. So if I ask my child to study, I would be like, if you study, then you would get to watch video games, but you have to make sure that you study for an hour. I'm not setting any target that the child has to score so and so percent. And along with that, I'm also supporting the child that if you have any queries or issues or problems, the child can come. If the child is stuck in between, or I can help the child forming a timetable and helping the child follow it. So it is solve problems together with the child, set clear rules and expectations, open communication and natural consequences. So when the communication is open, the child can also speak up and the consequences would be better. So authoritative parenting is a warm, nurturing condition where it is a win-win situation for the child as well as for the parent. So you have some restrictions along with freedom in this. So it's a balance. That is authoritative parenting. Now, the next thing is permissive parenting. The third type of parenting style is permissive, where the child is the king. It's child driven. So you observe the child closely, but you do not restrict the child from doing a particular thing, and the child is highly empowered more than the requirement, and you don't want to get into the conflict with the child. So now the child is king. If the child, if you're seeing that the child is watching too much of video games or the child is not eating properly, you would still ignore and let the child eat sweets or junk food, or let the child not study well or watch TV while studying. So you do not interrupt the child. To maintain a good relation, you let the child do whatever the child feels like doing, which is called as permissive parenting. And one more type of permissive parenting is neglectful permissive parenting. Means you do not pay attention to what is happening. If the child is with grandparents, you hardly notice how is the interaction between them. You solely leave it without understanding how the child is feeling. Or is the child listening to their grandparents? Are the grandparents having difficulty handling the child? You totally ignore. It's like talking over the phone when your child is saying something. You totally ignore the needs of the child and let the child do whatever without being aware of what is happening in his surroundings or with the child. So this is uninvolved or absent, provides little nurturance or guidance, indifferent to child's social, emotional, and behavioral needs. So the child is on its own. The child is skeptical about what is to be done, what is not to be done, because there is no guidance, there is no touch, there is no emotions involved over there, but the child is abundant on its own. That is neglect. Now let us study the effects of different parenting style. So let us first take the positive style of parenting, which is authoritative. It's a win-win situation for both the child as well as parents. Now, what happens to the self-image, the emotions, the social links, and the academics of such a child when the parenting uh, approach is of authoritative? So the child develops high self-esteem because you're letting the child take decisions, you're letting the child speak up for himself, and the child is assertive because we want to achieve a common goal with the conscience of both the child and the parents. The child is assertive, positive. The child trusts you because the child can express, and he can have a good self control. He can regulate very well. What are the social skills that the child develops? He becomes socially responsible because he is interacting, he is responding, he, parents are parents tell him how to behave socially. They help. Less peer pressure, because they are not made to compete. Their needs and their competencies are understood, get along with everyone, and they are empathetic because we show empathy towards them and they learn empathy from us. And how they would be naturally in academics, they will learn well, they will be much more confident and higher achievers. They might not score 90% and above or a very good score, but they would be definitely higher achievers with good confidence and a good learning attitude. So they will learn well, would be more confident, and they would have good amount of achievement. Now let's go to the next trait, that is permissive. What happens when the parent is permissive? So the child will develop high self-esteem because he will feel he is the king. Nobody stops him. He's allowed to do anything he wishes. Self-confident, yes. But he would be less responsible because he is not made aware of what things he should be doing, what are his responsibilities. He's not told to do anything. So the responsibility part would be less, and impulsive, very impulsive, because not used to listening to others and following instructions. So the child would be very impulsive. And emotions irregular. Sometimes the child will feel high, sometimes the child might feel neglected, and he will voice out his feelings, like he is not liking certain things, or if he's restricted for something, that time he will voice out because he doesn't have the acceptance and is not used to. If some other relative or grandmother or grandfather or parents also tell him something, he will voice out his feelings because he is not used to being receptive. Social skills would be trouble keeping friends because whatever I say is right, might is right. So there is less receptiveness to what others say. How to be in a situation where you have to also listen and as well as make sure what you want to do. So that situation is totally missing. So it would be trouble keeping friends with permissive style, and low interest in school because there are so many factors that are attractive and you can do without taking permissions. So why would you be interested in school where there would be instructions, when there would be a schedule, when there would be someone observing you, someone teaching you? So they have low interest in school. Now, what happens with authoritarian, where the parent feels the boss of the child or the parent feels they own the child? So, what happens with the child in this case? Self image is very low because the child feels I cannot speak, I have to just follow. They don't trust their feelings because they have never taken any decision. They have not spoke for themselves. They have not used their own gut feelings. So they don't trust feelings and their behavior is weak, and they don't get along social and they don't get along with other people. They lack their social skills because they get into the shell. They become less expressive, more receptive, and it's difficult for them to socialize where you need to express, be yourself, enjoy the moment. They lack those things, and it becomes hard for them to concentrate and medium level of achievement because they are under continuous pressure. They have been given deadlines, they have been given goals without understanding their interest. They have been given just the end result. You have to eat this, you have to achieve this. I don't know, you're not going to watch this, without understanding the needs, why, and without telling the child why the things should be done or not done. So authoritarian parents, they make the child socially deprived. It the child finds it hard to concentrate. The achievement is not that great. Now, let's move to the next category, which would be permissive, uninvolved. So the parent here is not permissive involved, means the parent is understanding what the child is doing but not interrupting. Here, the parent is least bothered. the parent is negligent, ignorant towards some of the aspects and some important aspects of the child. So as a result of which the child develops a low esteem, little confidence, and they it might create hatred for himself and others. Sometimes if he may compare himself to others, he might not like others doing well, or he might not even like himself, because there is no routine, no guidance, no support, and he would just hide his feelings because there's no one to share, no one to look after the child. So he would have irregular feelings, difficult to gauge, and he would avoid also to understand what he's going through. So socially, he would be withdrawn, disrespectful, because nobody is respecting him, his identity, his presence, his say. So he is also going to be disrespectful, distrustful. Whatever is happening with him, he is passing on to the society, and he would be performing very poorly, and he would be mostly the child would be on its own because the child is abandoned and left. So these are the major four types, like authoritative, where there is a win-win situation for the parent as well as child. Permissive, where the child feels I am the king. Authoritarian, where the parent feels I am the king. Uninvolved, the parent and the child are least bothered to what they want, and the things are happening as per the whims and fancies of parent as well as the child, causing a very negative effect on overall development of the child. So these are basically four types of parenting styles. Are we all together?
Yes.
Followable? Thank you,
Yes.
Priya. Now let me share a small video which will sum up whatever I was saying. So is my screen visible?
And parents are controlling and demanding.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, thank you. I'll start now.
Obedience. In theory, there are only 4 styles of parenting. Authoritarian parents are controlling and demand obedience without considering the child's point of view. Permissive parents are loving but don't exert any control. There are no rules. Authoritative parents are firm but loving. They encourage independence within limits. Neglecting parents are uninvolved and often uninterested in their own child. Recently, a 5th style was proposed, but we will come back to that later. The styles range from controlling and demanding to complete freedom, and from cold and unresponsive to loving and receptive. Each, authoritative, permissive, authoritarian, and neglectful parents have their place. To understand what it means to grow up with parents from each end of the spectrum, we can imagine the lives of 4 children. Sarah's parents are authoritarian. They love their girl, but they believe that strict rules are important to make Sarah become well-behaved and fit into society. If Sarah cries, she's told to stop. If she talks back, she is sent to the corner for time out. If she forgets to take care of her chores around the house, she is not allowed to play with her toys. Sarah learns that suppressing her emotions and following her duties is the way to get through the day. To get the love of her parents and to avoid making them upset, she becomes obedient. However, because Sarah was never allowed to decide for herself or follow her intrinsic interests, as an adult, she doesn't know what she really wants. She begins living a life that seems perfect to her parents and society, but might leave her unhappy on the inside. Permissive parents, like those of Peter, enjoy their little boy so much that they believe they should fulfill all his wishes, give him full freedom, and never say no. Peter enjoys full control over his parents and gets whatever he wants. If he doesn't want to walk, he'll be carried. If he wants ice cream he gets. If he wants to play games, he'll be playing them all night. Peter grows up completely without borders and does whatever he thinks is right. He never coped with conflict, and he did not learn to control his emotions. The fact that he always got what he wanted made him a bad loser. As he grows older, he often acts inconsiderate and doesn't know his limits. Arthur's authoritative parents respect their child's needs, but believe that kids need freedom within certain limits. Arthur can freely play, but when he's done, he needs to help tidy up. He is allowed to eat ice cream, but only on Sundays. Screen time is limited to 30 minutes a day. There may be conflict, but the parents listen to what Arthur has to say and then lay down the rules. Arthur learns that some things are difficult, but his parents give him all the support he needs to get through it. He develops the strength to endure hardships and to continue following his interests and passions. In class, he bravely expresses his own opinions in an appropriate manner. During breaks, he can show his emotions and act freely. As an adult, he agrees to rules only after they have been discussed and he feels like he understands them. Neglectful parents are usually not present in their children's life. Nora often feels completely alone in the world. She experiences full freedom to do anything she wants to and has plenty of imagination, but she never receives any feedback or even attention. Nora realizes that it doesn't matter what she does because no one cares anyway. The lack of attention leads to a lack of trust in herself and others. She becomes insecurely attached, unable to form healthy relationships, and develops do anything alone, the children can't learn to overcome challenges by themselves. Research infers that these children don't like to solve difficult problems, lack perseverance, and may even procrastinate in protest when something requires a lot of effort. Since most research on parenting is based on self-reports and was done in the US and Europe, it is not clear how strongly the observed effects will hold up in controlled observational experiments or in other parts of the world. The 4 parenting styles were first introduced by psychologist Diana Baumrind. For good parenting, she advised balance of demandingness and responsiveness. Add to that the wise words of Maria Montessori to never help a child with a task at which he feels he can succeed, and parents should do pretty well. What do you think? Should parents resort to a specific style, or should they decide what's best to do in a given situation, as long as they don't neglect or abuse their child? To download this video without background music,
Thank you. Just a minute. Let's get back to the presentation. Okay, so we just saw with examples what are the different styles of parenting and what is the effect of it on the child. Now, as we have different styles of parenting, we also have different childhood temperaments, like different categories in which children behave. As we also have different parenting categories, there are different ways in which children behave. If parents, sometimes you hear parents saying that this child is easy to take care, or this child, my first child sleeps very well, My second child doesn't like to study. So if we have two children, we can make we can difference out that both the children are not same. As we have different parenting styles, children do carry different temperaments. So there are some temperaments in which we can classify how a child behaves. It would be easy. First temperament is easy, where the child is calm, happy, adaptable, sleeps regularly, and eating habits are regular. Positive in mood, interested in new experience. Like wherever the child will go, it will immediately make friends with other people, or will not have much tantrums, or will make friends easily, or is expressive about his needs, will immediately ask, will immediately comment on whatever he feels about the situation, is good in eating. So that is called easy child, sorry. And the next child would be slow to warm up, where the child is relatively inactive in the beginning, reflective, tends to withdraw from the new situation, will not enjoy the new environment or the new situation, or will love its comfort zone. But gradually, as the child becomes used to the environment, people, the activity, the child would become more and more positive and involved. The next type is difficult, where it is the child is fussy, irregular in eating, sleeping, fearful. The child gets easily offended or upset and highly strung. So, as we have different temperaments, child also has different temperaments, and these temperaments may change over a period of time if we provide them appropriate environment and appropriate support to develop, to thrive. So these are different temperaments. Now let us take an example and see what style of parenting will behave in a particular way. Suppose the child is staying with the grandmother when you are going to office, and the grandmother wants to give junk food to the child or some sweets to the child. As you come from office, you say that the grandmother is offering some sweet to the child. So what would be your reaction be if you are an authoritarian parent? You would straight away say no sweets now. You will tell your mother-in-law not to give any sweets, and the child also, you will not be getting any sweets. If you are a permissive parent, you would let your child have your sweets. If you are a negligent permissive parent, you would not bother what your mother-in-law is giving to the child. And if you are an authoritative parent, sorry, that then you will talk to the child and to your mother-in-law and make sure that the child gets sweets only as desserts after the dinner is served. So this is the example where we show different traits of behavior with our children. Suppose our children, second example I would like to give, the child is in the garden and picks his friend's ball. So if you are a permissive parent, you would not find anything odd, and you would let the child take the ball and play with it without any objection. You will feel it's okay. So what? It's a toy, and your child can pick up and play anything, whatever the child wants, because you're permissive. If you are an authoritarian parent, you would scold the child and ask to return the ball right away. But if you are an authoritative parent, you would talk to the child and tell the child that he needs to take his friend's permission and then take the ball. And also he can take turns if he wants, or to figure out what needs to be done. So it's a win-win situation for the child as well as for the parents. The child feels supported, the child understands what is going wrong, and the child behaves accordingly. So we can be a mix, or we can have a particular parenting style, and if we realize, we can make some amendments to it. So that's about styles, parenting styles, and the temperaments of a child. Any question and answers? Anybody who would like to share anything or any question answers? Anyone? Okay. Thank you, Priya. Thank you all for attending and being with me. You can also let me know the topics which interest you. I'm trying to take different topics which are not normally taken. Thank you, Rashi, Shweta. Uh, yes, can you be a little loud? Thank you all. Thanks for being a lovely audience. I enjoyed the session. Yeah, I will share the slides. I would do that. Any questions? Any suggestions? Any feedback? Okay. So I will end the call. If there are no questions, suggestions. Thank you all for joining. Have a very nice day. Bye.